I'm sure you'll know that there are two types of twins, identical twins and non-identical twins. In this video, we'll look at how twins happen and why some are identical and others are not. The video is broken into chapters, so here's the list if you want to jump ahead. Let's get started. If you're new here, welcome to BioSmash. I'm Jo. I'm a science teacher and a clinical scientist. To understand how twins form, you need to have a basic understanding of the female reproductive system. You're probably familiar with this diagram. Here's the womb, which is sometimes called the uterus, and here are the two ovaries where the eggs are stored. When a baby girl is born, she already has her immature eggs in her ovaries. Once a girl starts her period, every month one egg matures in the ovary. And on the day of ovulation, that egg is released from the ovary and travels down the fallopian tube towards the womb. If the woman has had sexual intercourse recently, the egg cell might meet a sperm cell and be fertilized. If the egg is fertilized by a sperm cell, it will start to divide into a ball of cells that we call an embryo. And this embryo travels towards the womb and settles into the womb lining. The embryo starts to develop into a baby, and we say that the woman is pregnant. Approximately 9 months later, the baby is born. By the way, if you're finding this helpful, I'd love to hear from you, particularly if you've got any ideas I could cover in future videos. Now that we understand the basics, let's look at how identical twins are formed. So the first stage in the formation of identical twins is that a mature egg is released from the ovary on the day of ovulation, and the egg travels down the fallopian tube towards the womb. The woman has recently had sexual intercourse and the egg is fertilized by a sperm cell. The fertilized egg cell then starts to divide to form an embryo, which is a ball of identical cells. The cells in the embryo continue to divide, which means that each cell splits into two identical cells. However, at some point this process goes slightly wrong, and the embryo splits to make two separate embryos. The two embryos are identical and they both implant into the womb lining and start to grow into a baby. We call the baby at this point a fetus, so we have two identical fetuses. And if they continue to grow 9 months after fertilization, we will have identical twins. Give this video a thumbs up if you're starting to understand this topic better. Now let's look at how non-identical twins are formed. Sometimes two eggs mature in the woman's ovary instead of one. If both of these eggs are released from the ovary and travel into the reproductive system, and the woman has had sexual intercourse so that there are sperm in the reproductive system, it is likely that each egg will meet a sperm cell and be fertilized. And if you look very carefully, you can see that the two egg cells are slightly different from each other, and the two sperm cells are slightly different too. If both egg cells are fertilized successfully, they will each divide to form an embryo. So we will have two embryos, but because they came from separate sperm and egg cells, they'll be non-identical. And like before, the two embryos attach to the womb lining, and if all goes well, each of them will develop into a baby. And 9 months later, two babies will be born, but they'll be non-identical because they came from separate egg and sperm cells. I really hope you're finding this video helpful. If you are, then please do click subscribe. It will help you to find my other videos. Let's finish off by looking at why some twins are identical and others aren't. It's all to do with this molecule, DNA. You may know that DNA is our genetic material, and DNA contains our genes. It's helpful to think of each gene as a recipe for making a particular chemical that your body needs. Some genes are recipes for making chemicals that affect the colour of our eyes. Some genes determine our blood group, and other genes make chemicals that affect our hair colour. We get our genes from the egg and sperm cell that made us. The sperm cell contains DNA from the man, and the egg cell contains DNA from the woman. So we inherit DNA from both of our parents. Our father gives us a proportion of his DNA, and our mother gives us a proportion of hers. I've drawn this in the egg and sperm cell so that you can imagine it. Because we get a proportion of our DNA from our father and a proportion of DNA from our mother, we inherit features from both of them. For example, this boy has similar eyebrows to his father, but similar eyes to his mother. Because we only put some of our DNA into each egg or sperm cell that we make, each egg or sperm cell contains a different combination of our genetic material. This means that every egg and sperm cell is unique. Because non-identical twins are made from a different egg and sperm cell to each other, they will inherit a different combination of genetic material. As you can see in this diagram, both twins inherited the large black chromosome, but twin 1 got the large pink one, whereas twin 2 got the large purple one. This is why non-identical twins tend to look similar, but not identical. The similarities are due to the genetic material that they both share, and the differences is due to the genetic material that they have that is different from each other. In contrast, identical twins are made from the same sperm and egg cell. The resulting pregnancy inherits DNA from both cells. And here I've drawn the embryo that's formed. But as we've discussed, in identical twins, that embryo splits into 2 identical embryos. And because each of those embryos makes one twin, each of the twins have an identical combination of DNA. And this is the reason that identical twins look identical. However, as they start to get older, identical twins may start to look less identical. This is due to their environment. For example, if one twin smokes but the other doesn't, you might notice the effects of the smoking on one twin's skin. Exposure to the sun can also affect how we look, as can our activity level and the type of diet that we have. If you want to know more about how the environment affects us, check out this video. I'll put the link below. I really hope you found this video helpful. I've put 2 here that you might like to watch next that build on these ideas. Otherwise, YouTube has chosen this one just for you. I hope to see you again soon.